So I'm here today having a chat on the sofa with a cup of tea with
Cheers.
with the wonderful Joey Holden. Now,
Mm,
Joey
that's
is
very.
an actor. She's been acting for 30 years, touring all over with her work. She's an inspiration. I personally have seen her perform at the Royal Albert Hall with Cirque du Soleil as a clown. I've also seen her work for renowned company Told by an Idiot at the Manchester Royal Exchange, and at lots of other venues. She's somebody that I follow her work and I admire greatly. So welcome, Joey.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
very, very
much.
much for having me, Catherine. And that was quite a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming to talk today, because we're talking about not just the menopause, but about moving into a different phase of our lives as we,
Mm-hmm.
grow from, women into perhaps, older women. And I wanted to talk to Joey because she works as a performer, and I know that can be tricky territory to navigate as you get older as a woman. And that's one of the things I wanted us to talk about today, as well as other stuff that comes up. But it'll just be hopefully a nice
Yeah.
chat.
Well, it's certainly something I'm in the middle of in terms of that transition, whether it be menopause or the hormones, the things that go with it. I'm laughing, Catherine, because you've sent me the questions beforehand, which I read and thought about. And because I am in this menopausal brain fog, I can't remember any of the questions. And I thought, actually, I'm not going to look again. I think that's quite apt. So,
Exactly.
yes, I think, we're all on a lifetime's path, aren't we? And you get to an age where you can look back quite far and look forward quite shortly in a way. So your timeline and where you sit in it shifts, and I guess there becomes an awareness of that. I certainly feel that. In all sorts of ways. Some just because I'm aware, even technology, having to keep up with things that I know people of a different generation can do in 2 minutes. I've moved into that middle-aged person, a bit like my mum when she couldn't work out how to use the VCR. Do you know what I mean? So I have now become that. I think we do, in a way, quite often become our parents, and we can't quite believe it. But then suddenly you wake up one morning, you are your own mum. So, yeah. Yes, and what I do feel good about this, Catherine, is at least these days we can talk about these things. I remember asking my mum about it, just because I wanted to know, God, when would I probably go through the menopause? Because quite often it's genetic, they suggest. And my mum, she said she couldn't really remember, and she'd never really talked about it. But it's only when I look back that I think I do remember her getting up in the night and taking walks around the block because she was hot. And I do bad-tempered or struggling a little bit. So she never talked about it, and I didn't know what it was. But with hindsight, I can see what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was interesting. Yeah.
So the first question I wanted to ask you today, Joey, was how did you feel when you first started going through the menopause?
Now, that's an interesting question. Let me think. Well, I guess there are two things that happen. There's the sort of physical feeling of, my periods are no longer predictable. I've got stiffer joints. And how did I feel about that? Well, luckily, I love medical things, and I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, so I was well versed on it all. So I looked things up immediately, and I thought, no, this is definitely perimenopause, all these kind of symptoms. So, and then there's the sort of, how do you feel about coming to the end of your childbearing years, especially if you haven't had a child, and suddenly that door closes. And I know a lot of my friends, that has been a real struggle. For me, I've always been quite philosophical about those things. If it's happened, for me at the right time. It would have been wonderful, but I didn't meet the right person at the right time. And so I didn't have any children. So actually growing old, and I don't feel less of a woman in some ways just because I'm no longer a fertile woman. So that side of it, I feel like I'm quite accepting that we go through phases in our lives, and that we live many lives as well.
Yeah.
I was a teenager, that was me. I was a university student, that was me. I mean, I'm the same person sort of, but also I'm a different person. And I guess it's accepting who you are, and appreciating who you are actually at the different stages in your life. So I think, how did I feel about it? I knew it was coming. It's not like it was a surprise. And I wasn't sure it would last as long as it seems to be lasting, because I'm still in the hot flushes phase, and the brain fog phase. But yeah, I feel I'm kind of prepared for it and ready for it. I'm struggling with some of the physical symptoms, I think. Yeah.
I can totally resonate with you about what you said about the childbearing years, because I also haven't got children. But I think maybe there was a part of me that actually was quite relieved, because I thought, at least now I kind of know that's not going to happen, and I can kind of move on from that kind of phase of perhaps worrying about whether it would happen or not, or maybe trying to make it happen and it not happening for me, and it just not being something
stressful.
And like I kind of felt like, oh, what's this next phase got in store for me then? It's not going to be about that anymore. That doesn't have to define me anymore, whether I have or whether I haven't. I can move on and kind of close that door, So I think in some ways for me that was quite positive, that shift into that knowing, that wasn't going to happen. Maybe that's acceptance as well, acceptance of that.
Yeah. And of course, I guess what we're dealing with, there's the menopause, and then the thing that affects all of us is sort of middle age, and where you suddenly start to assess, what do I really want in life? Maybe I've got 30 years. What do I want in those 30 years? Do I want an ambitious career? Do I just want to, get enough money to live by and just do the things I like and have my friends around for a bottle of wine? I mean, some of it's menopausal, and some of it is just that sort of reassessing at a certain age. I think that has been documented, has always been documented, where the guys go and get a big motorbike and, all those things. So it's competing with those things as well, I think, sort of being in the middle of your life.
And I think you do look back. I don't know about you, but for me, part of going through it was like looking back on things I'd done when I was younger. And I did have a few regrets. I looked back and I kind of berated myself a bit for a few things. But then I kind of thought it was like a process of then kind of almost forgiving myself and thinking, do you know what? I am who I am, warts and all, mistakes and all,
and I think there is somehow, I mean, there's the thing that I felt a little bit around it as well, I don't know if this is just the midlife thing, is there was an acceptance a little bit more, an acceptance of who I am, an acceptance that nothing's perfect and I'm not perfect. And and I tell you what has come with it, a little bit more willingness to speak out and just call a spade or whatever, in a way that I don't think I would have had the confidence to do when I was younger. So I think that's for some reason that seems to have been a benefit. I don't know how.
Okay,
I think you might have frozen. Oh, yeah.
Great. So so the internet might be a tiny bit up and down, but hopefully it'll be okay. So the next question that I wanted to ask you was just what does the word menopause make you think of?
Oh, let me think. What does the word menopause? Oh, not the change, as in, I used to not like that word, like she's going through the change. It was like she was, I don't know, transforming from a maiden to, that whole mythological thing. And what is the change? So, but I do like the fact that I do like the menopause means to be something new in a way, a threshold into
Yes.
another aspect of your life. I'm not very articulate, but
No, it's like another period of change,
another
isn't it?
chapter. There's lots of
Yeah.
chapters, and this is another chapter.
Yeah,
And of
definitely.
course, I don't mind saying things that, and with it there comes the relief of contraception and that kind of thing. Although there's also the element of thinking, well, I don't need contraception because I can't be bothered to do it. But I'm hoping that will come back at some point when I get some sleep. But anyway, so I think, and I think this is why I know you were going to ask me about my work a little bit, but the thing that has helped me through this in my work, I think, is I'm lucky enough to work with lots of people from different age groups. So there are women, there are people my age, there are people that are 18, 19. In the theatre, you're all on the same level when you're doing a show, and you're all, there's usually quite a big age range. And that's great because it keeps you sort of grounded in a way, keeps you connected. So you're not just in your little middle-aged bubble. You're still learning. I mean, I've learned loads from younger people. In terms of, and it really helps me to tap into their sort of their energy of anything is possible still, because it wanes a bit as you get older, don't you? You get a little bit tired of launching yourself, and that's a shame, really, because and so I feel lucky working with young people. That helps me a little bit keep my momentum going.
It keeps you in touch with, like you were saying, the technology, the younger generation, what they think and feel about the world,
and their optimism as well.
I feel the same. Like when I talk to younger people, I just find them really interesting, and what they think about the future of the world.
And I love telling them all about the menopause, because I'm in a rehearsal with the doors open and going, oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm just a bit hot. I think anybody that's worked with me in the last 3 years, any young men, they know all about it. They'll be ready for it in 30 years' time with their partners.
Oh, brilliant. So and then in terms of when you started going through the menopause, where did you think there was enough information out there about it?
I think so. I think on the NHS website, books on balancing your hormones. I don't think there was ever anything that I didn't really understand what was going on. I think what was difficult, I was struggling with the hot flushes and lack of sleep, and I'm feeling anxious in a way that I hadn't really. Well, I guess as a performer, you've always got a bit of anxiety, but suddenly it seemed to come to the fore during all of this. And I did go to the GP to get HRT and spoke to a doctor there, male doctor, who did say, this is not a panacea for all your problems, and I really think there's nothing I can do for you. You need to speak to a woman, which I thought was a bit sort of ridiculous, really. I mean, does he only deal with male patient problems? I mean, I thought that was a bit ridiculous. But anyway, I think I'm quite lucky in that I'm quite able to say to the doctor, I've researched this and this is what I want and this is what I want to try. So in the end, that is what I did. I went back to see a woman and I said, I want to. Now, I have to say though, so I've got the HRT and it's still in my drawer and I still haven't taken it. That's another thing, but
that's great.
At least I've got the choice.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, I think there's a lot about it. I didn't find it hard to find out information. No.
That's good. So moving on, Joey. So just in terms then, moving on to your work and that area of your life as an actor, would you feel comfortable telling a boss at work that you were menopausal if it was something that you thought was affecting you on that day, perhaps?
I think it's an interesting question, isn't it? and it's not because it's whether I would even want to say to a boss that I was feeling depressed or suffering any other thing in this business, because it's so competitive. There's this awful side of it that makes you have to always put on your best face, because you want to be a person that people will want to work with again. Now, having said that, so I think, and there's an awareness of not bringing the personal into the professional in a way. For me, I have a sense of that. But I did just do a show at Christmas, and I was, well, first of all, it had been locked down, so I hadn't done anything for 8 months or whatever, so out of practice, and that had made me a bit anxious. And then I was panicking that because I've got a bit of brain fog and I keep choosing the wrong words at the moment, I was worried I wasn't going to remember the lines, and I got quite nervous about it. So I did, but I know Mark Babbage at Hull Truck. I don't mind saying his name because he's just brilliant. And I think I did say to him, look, I've got to tell you, I'm going to have to write bits of paper all over the set and everything, because I've no idea whether I remember it or not, because I'm right in the middle of this menopausal. And of course I make a little joke about it, going, literally every 5 minutes I'm having my own private summer. So I'll just tell you now. And yeah,
so that just shows you that it is,
it is possible. And I would say to him, I guess I wouldn't say to somebody who I work with per se, I'd have to really trust the person, I think, to be honest.
It'd be someone you knew, kind of thing. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay. So did it affect work as an actor, and in what ways?
Interesting. Oh, it's so hard to sort of put things down just to the menopause, isn't it? I think as a general thing, the menopause itself, no, it hasn't affected my work in terms of, yes, I had to work harder at remembering the lines. That worries me, and those things. That could also be midlife. I don't know. I don't think the menopause has affected my work. I think, maybe, I guess some of the effects of the menopause are, for me, have been a sort of shift in my confidence. One would think as you got older, you got more confidence. And I think I've become a little bit more unconfident. And I don't know if that's the hormones or that's just getting older in what is quite a young business, really, when you're looking at new, amazing emerging artists and things.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. I don't think it's affected the roles that I've been offered, no. It hasn't affected me. I know I sound contradictory. I can't decide whether some of my thoughts in work is the menopause, or just me at my midlife and contemplating, do I want to be going off on tour? Do I want to be doing these things anymore? Yeah. They're sort of all colliding at the same time, isn't it? So no, I don't think, I certainly don't think it's affected how people view me. I think the only thing that's been affected is me, myself.
Absolutely, I get you. Yes. And that kind of probably then leads to another question that I was going to ask you. Do you think that female actors get typecast as they get older?
I don't know about the typecasting. I just think there are less roles for women generally and less roles for older women. Just because, the new writing, new things that are coming out are usually, a lot of the theatre is sort of, and the theatre that I'm interested in as well is quite physical, so it's quite often younger people in it. So do they get typecast? See, I've always been a character actor, so I find it, so I've always been, I've been playing old women since I was about 18. So it's, in the kind of stuff I do.
So you maybe have grown more into some of your roles, maybe then.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed if anybody's watching. I wasn't such a brilliant 53-year-old woman 20 years ago when I was playing them, but I am now the genuine artist.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Great.
So let me think, typecasting. I think it's just that general thing about roles for men and roles for women. And really, there aren't many plays centered around a middle-aged woman. Somehow it doesn't seem so as exciting as, I don't know, I can't think of the other examples, but yeah.
And in terms of just the difference, because you were talking earlier about how we all change, so we become all these different people throughout our lives, and I think that's quite interesting. So in terms of your work, you know, what made you nervous when you were a younger actor, maybe compared to what makes you nervous now? Like, can you look back at your younger self and
I guess when I was my younger self, just off the top of my head, I think there was a real urge to be recognized for what I did, if I'm honest, so, and I wanted people to think, oh, she's a brilliant actress, of course you have an ego and you want to be recognized, I guess.
I
don't feel that so much anymore. I just want to do, and so that has shifted. I just want to do interesting work, regardless of whether lots of people see it or just two people see it or one person sees it. So I'm more inclined to do something, or that's not true. I'll take any job, but ideally, I'd like to just choose the things that I'm interested in. The thing that I think is different, when I was younger, I was a little bit more gung-ho. I'd throw myself at walls. I'd anything anybody asked me to do, I'd do it. It's a real paradox. I've got more confidence now because I've got more technique, because I've just been doing it for so long. But have I still got that wild madness imagination and going and thinking that anything is possible? I don't know, if I'm honest.
What's quite nice about what you said, though, I was thinking, is like, because you said you wanted to be recognized and now that's not so important. I wonder now whether age has taught you that actually it's the journey that's important rather than the outcome. Like that thing about, I think as we get older and we're creatives, or we're like artists, we realize that it's just something that we have to do, that we enjoy doing, rather than worrying so much about the outcome or what people think of the outcome, or it's like we just have to do it because it's what makes us tick and we enjoy it, and just and to enjoy it,
outlet. And I agree.
The other thing I wanted to ask you before we move on just a little bit, just to talking more about lockdown, because I think that's something that obviously as an actor it'd be interesting to talk to you about, but just quickly before we move on, which older female actors do you most admire, Joey, and why?
I knew you were going to ask me this, and they're just my favourites, like Julie Walters, who was a brilliant character actor from a very early age, and is just down to earth and hilarious and brilliant and working class. And of course that appeals to me. And then I just read some interview somewhere with Vanessa Redgrave and Miriam Margolyes. I can't remember what it was. And again, those, they're still out there, they're still doing it. And even though of course they're already very famous, but they talk about it very sort of off the cuff. I don't know. I really like that. I think they talked about it, in fact, Vanessa more than Miriam Margolyes, actually, in a way of acceptance, or this is what I do and I'm brilliant at it, and that's what I do, and so I admire their balls, actually. And so I thought of Vanessa Redgraves was my first person that popped into my head. And oh my God, I'm going to forget her name. MP. Glenda Jackson. Those,
So moving on now more to lockdown, Joey, because obviously we've been in this lockdown now for a while, and it's been on and off since
nearly a
year. And I know that it's affected actors and performers and creatives a lot. And I suppose, how has it been for you?
It's been hard. I can't deny it. It's been hard. I think there's a sense of, I don't know, somehow it unearths all the things that you were worrying about before, and that gets intensified, I think. Let me try and explain that. Oh gosh, I've been thinking for a while, okay, I've had a change of career, what shall I do? Suddenly I'm in lockdown, and that all those things sort of come to the fore because I've got nothing to distract myself. So, and I haven't, there haven't been many auditions. Again, all the auditions are now self-tapes, which is brilliant, but I hate doing self-tapes because I can't remember the lines quick enough. And so there's been that. It's been, and also me and my partner are not used to being in the same house 24/7. So for somebody who used to be always in a mess and never did any housework, now I can't bear the dirt. There's those sort of lockdown things. It's thinking, gosh, when I come out of this, I won't have done any theatre for a while. How is that going to affect me? And do I still want to do it? All those things, really. I think, I found, and self-esteem a little bit as well, because I'm not out, I don't see my mates, all the things that are life affirming for you, like work, seeing your mates face to face, going out on a jolly. I haven't done any of those things, and people react in different ways, but I've found I've kind of sort of kept myself to myself a lot more. And for some reason I've done that, but what I really want to do is see my mates, and just they're the things that keep me going. And I hate the phone. I hate Zoom, even though here I am. So you're my mate, but you've got to get over yourself, really. So I think a lot of people, now I must point out, because I feel I have to, even I'm saying I've found it tough sort of emotionally and things, but I've been really lucky. I've not been homeschooling. I've not had anybody ill. I've got a tiny garden. Even though I haven't earned really any money, me and my partners, Greg's been working. So even though I don't spend his money, there is food in the cupboard. There have been times in my life where I've thought, God, I can buy 10 cigarettes or a packet of crackers. And I bought the cigarettes. But so
that was the younger you, Joey.
That was the younger me.
Choose the cigarettes over the crackers.
Yeah.
And then so when it all finishes, Joey, what's going to be your kind of, like, what's the thing that you're the most looking forward to doing?
I want to get dressed up. I want to get dressed up. I want to put some shoes on that I can't possibly walk in. I want to meet up with you. I want to meet up with my girlfriends with some nice wine and put the world to rights and have a good old laugh. I want to have a good old laugh with my friends. And I want
everyone needs that.
And I want a place to go to every day, because actually what we didn't touch on in terms of my work and things is what I have found difficult being middle-aged is all the jobs that I used to do when I wasn't acting, which is promotions work, bar work, waitressing. They don't tend to want some middle-aged old fart. They don't. They do. And so
all the backup jobs.
All the backup jobs.
Young actors do. Yeah.
It's a bit difficult to find that work. And I found it difficult to find different work in lockdown. I mean, I did work at a train station for a while, and I've done a little bit of online teaching. And like everybody, that's been a massive sort of learning curve. Living breakout rooms and spotlighting and, I don't know, different platforms and things. I've suddenly had to learn things really quickly. And but like everybody, I've missed the interaction, the sort of shared experience. And so I did that Christmas show, which was great to do, but in the end we ended up just filming it, which was wonderful in one way, but we never saw an audience, and we want to do it for an audience. So I forgot what you were saying now. That's the thing with the menopause.
No, it was just the thing about coming out as well, the end of lockdown.
I want to find I need a job, not just for money. I need to be doing something every day, because that is how I work best. I get more done the more I have to do, and that's just me, and that's otherwise I just feel a little bit lardy. True.
Well, thank you so much, Joey, for sharing.
It's a pleasure. I hope it made sense.
Some of the thoughts on being an actor and going through menopause, getting older. It's been so lovely chatting to you over a cup of tea on the sofa today, Joey.
Well, actually, I'm on a hard chair. But
I should have said to you, please sit on a sofa.
I'm only messing about.
Put your legs up.
It's brilliant.